Welcome to the Blokes podcast. I'm Adam.
And I'm Greg, and we sit down once a week to shoot the breeze. We chat about anything and everything. Sports, films, drinking, politics, music, etc.
So sit back, crack open a beer and enjoy.
Yeah, need to get this stuff. This is good. So, it's basically iodine. So you know how, like, if you're in the army and you're marching and you get blisters and you can't march anymore, they just inject iodine into the blister and it just hardens the skin like that.
Sweet.
But the pain you get for about 10 seconds is some of the most intense you can get. It's
Nice.
the same thing. So it's like this bright red stuff. You just pop it on and it just hardens the skin, but it hurts a lot.
Wow.
And I just trust. I mean, that's a big boy, so I don't even know how that would feel.
Yeah.
But like on a normal also just.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I forgot to turn the record button on, and we're talking about a massive mouth ulcer in my mouth.
Oh, dude.
And it's ridiculous. It's about the size of a 10p, and it's massive. Yeah. We're going to have to take it off. We're going to have to amputate.
Full lip amputation, mate. And that's all it calls for.
Greg, get the hacksaw.
on air as well, live. We're going to do it live.
This is a podcast first. Live amputation. Oh, dear. God. So, happy podcast week.
Yeah, man.
Number 2.
Woo! It's good to be back again. It feels good.
As per usual.
Yeah.
I don't think drinking's going to help this mouth ulcer, but I think we should crack on just in case it does. Because, I've got a gut feeling that a bit of alcohol, I mean...
Sure.
You never know. All this COVID hand gel and stuff, like, the stronger the better, right?
Yeah, I think so.
The higher alcohol, the better. So let's see if this makes a difference. Today we're going down a slightly different route. Not that anyone would ever get bored of beer and whiskey. However, we're just going off at a little tangent, and we're going to delve into the murky, grapey world of wine. So I had a selection of four different reds, most of them quite hearty. And Greg told me that he'd had a very lean, bodybuilder-esque dinner. So he's saved lots of calories up for this evening. So we're going to waste it now and have a big, fat, full-bodied Australian Coonawarra red wine. This is a Cabernet Merlot Petit Verdot, so they're your two grapes, basically. Or three grapes? Cabernet... Merlot's a grape, Cabernet is a grape, Petit Verdot. They're three grapes. It is... What percentage are we on here? 13%. So, I mean, it could be stronger, but it's also not weak. We've given it a little decant a couple of moments before, just to give it a bit of air and to make ourselves feel more important.
It's working.
We're all about the bullshit when it comes down to our favourite things. This is no exception. Let's pour this baby out.
That looks good. It's dark. Can't see through that, that's for sure.
I hope you can hear this. It just sounds so much better being poured out of a decanter. Okay.
Adam, I drink a decent amount of wine, but I wouldn't mind you sort of running me through the best way.
A couple of little tasting tips.
Sure.
Okay, so the first tip is don't fill the glass as full as I've just filled it. Because do as I say, not as I do, Greg, all right? Like all good teachers. So basically, you want to introduce a little bit of air into this, basically. So that's why people decant stuff, and that's why you see them like swirling the wine and doing that disgusting slurping noise. Basically, all those different steps are increasing the amount of air into the wine, which is basically a very initial process of oxidization. So if you've had a bottle of wine one day and you've left a bit and you come back to it the next day, that's like an extreme example of what we're doing by like swirling the wine and stuff. Basically, that's gone too far. We've left it out and it's got too much oxygen in. However, if we were to just decant it for a little while, or like pour it, you often see people pouring it from a great height. That's again to introduce the air, or like swirl it round before we taste it. That's basically just going to release the flavours, a bit like it would do if we were doing whiskey or whatever. So very similar to whiskey, you know, we're like giving it a nose first, so give it a little swirl. It's often easy to use the table or use the table to swirl the glass, just because it's a little bit easier, basically, to control the liquid. Give it a little swirl. Get your nose right in there. Get your schnoz right in the glass. Same sort of thing as whiskey. Like, have a bit of a nose. I mean, obviously, we can review it using all of our senses, basically. So we can have a look, and it's often good to use something white. So you'll often see people using like a napkin to put behind it. We haven't got anything.
I've got a little mask here, mate.
A white COVID-19 mask. What have I got?
What are we looking for? The legs? Is that what we're looking for? The runs?
Well, yeah, just the colour, just anything.
Ah, okay.
So the colour, the sort of. Sorry, I'm not even speaking into the mic. The colour, the viscosity, so the thickness, basically. We're so COVID-19 related tonight because Greg's using a white surgical mask as a background so that you can see an accurate colour of the wine, and I'm using a little box that my send away COVID test came in, because that's the only other white thing. So a little top tip: if you look around the sort of rim of the wine, you can see this one's quite purpley, quite bluey, and that often indicates that it's quite young. So like if you were splashing out and you had like an old bottle of red wine, it's often going to look a bit more brown, a bit orangey and brown.
I've noticed. I've only ever had like, I think, the one full bottle of an older whiskey that they let me taste in the shop before I bought it, and I was pretty shocked at like how browny it was, like, and how not red it was. Way browner than I thought. It's interesting, but it tasted amazing. It can so those sort of these sort of newer wines can be like, they can be a bombshell, basically. They can be a huge mouthful if you see that sort of blue tinge. What else? So yeah, smell, sight, and then taste, basically. You get as much air in as you can. Oh yeah,
it's quite peppery. So it's quite a full-bodied red, spicy, peppery. It's got those classic Bordeaux, like ripe fruits, dark fruits.
The fruits, 100% is the first thing I got.
That's quite
warm. I love this pepper.
Yeah, think about spices, chilies. Good to coat the mouth with it. God, we're getting quite serious this week.
Oh yeah.
Like last week we started off with toilet humour. And
yeah. Oh yeah, you want to keep people guessing, We don't want to get pinned down.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Really good. I mean, do you do that level of swirling around your mouth when it's whiskey?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I maybe not quite as much as I just did then. But I don't know if you've ever watched the YouTube channel for whiskey.com.
I haven't, no.
Okay, so it's a German guy and his son.
Right.
They managed to get the URL for whiskey.com.
Sweet.
And they every day just put reviews out, just daily, if not more than one a day. And the old guy, the dad, he will take a sip of his whiskey and he will slosh it around, no joke, for about 10 seconds. So I'm just going to give you a quick impression here. Okay, yeah, so... And I was just looking at him, and I was like, whoa, okay, that's how you're supposed to do it. I mean...
Wow.
To be fair to him, like, if you do that with anything, you're going to taste it. Well, that's for sure.
It's going to get every last taste bud in your mouth, right?
For sure, yeah. I think you need to be careful with whiskey, because especially if it's stronger than 40%, and you haven't put any water in, to sort of tame it a little bit and take that alcohol level down a little bit. you can sort of kill your mouth, kill your tongue, and sort of your taste buds are going to be numbed for a little while because it's such a high level of alcohol. But especially if you like putting water in your whiskey, I reckon I would suggest that.
Right.
100%. Just be careful. If it's too strong and you're just putting it everywhere without it being diluted at all, and it hasn't been sitting out for a little while, then you're probably going to numb your mouth, I would say. But
you just lose all the flavours.
Exactly, yeah. I guess it's more with wine, it's less the sort of brand that's your favourite or the sort of specific vineyard and more the sort of grape or the region. Would that be...
No, that's... Well, you in that last sentence, you just sort of said two different schools of thought.
Okay.
One is region, one is grape.
Okay.
So, like, you've got the old world and the new world, basically, and you'll often see that on, like, little signs in the supermarket where it's, like, new world wines. So old world is basically France and Italy and, like, the oldest wine producing nations.
Yeah.
And they're the classics. They're the ones with the super strict denominations, appellation control, like Champagne. You can only be called Champagne if it's from Champagne, that specific region. And they believe in this thing called terroir, which is basically like there's this sort of incredible quality to the land and the air and the soil and the climate and that sort of thing in a very specific region. And they say that, like, in Champagne or Bordeaux or Burgundy or these regions that you might have heard of, they're like this sort of golden location where only the best of that wine can be made. So back in the day, wine was often sold with just a region on it, like Pomerol, which is a place in Bordeaux, and it wouldn't say what grape it was. So you'd have to know that they use a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot in that region.
Okay,
but most people wouldn't know or care. They would just trust the fact that, that's a Bordeaux and it's old. I know it tastes like Bordeaux. It's incredible. Whereas the New World, i.e. Australia, Chile, Argentina, South Africa, the sort of newer places that haven't got this ancient tradition of wine, you'll often see like Chardonnay or like Shiraz. Like Australia is a classic for that. They believe slightly less in this terroir thing. They believe if I've got that vine, that Cabernet Sauvignon grape, I can make that anywhere in the world.
Okay.
And it's like, who cares where it is? I'm making Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
So if I do it sort of in a similar way with similar vine, it should be incredible. Or at least it should taste like that French place.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, a bit of argument and two different schools of thought that, that's why sometimes it's super easy for you for one to understand a bottle of wine because it just says the grapes, where it's grown, and I guess it sort of goes hand in hand with trying to widen the accessibility of wine as well. Like a lot of these old school, expensive hobbies, they're trying to get the younger generation. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, because all these old geezers are just dying out.
Yeah, for sure.
So they want to make it as easy as possible for you to be like, I really like Chardonnay or I really like Pinot Grigio, and you can delve into that. Whereas if you just see these old French bottles where it's just gobbledygook on there, unless you speak French and know what all this crap means,
for sure.
I'm not dissing France, but it's like they want.
That's all right. If you are, it's fine.
But they want, they want to keep it like a tight club where it's just old boys club,
Okay. So where do you fall within that?
I think they've both got. They all make great stuff. They all make really good stuff, and I think it just takes a little bit of reading and research, and all of a sudden you can work most things out, and all of a sudden this old French stuff doesn't seem as old boys clubby as it once did. You know? Like Australian wines and Chilean wines and stuff, they're much friendlier for the consumer to like work out.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes if you just buy an old bottle of Bordeaux, it's just incredible.
Sure.
Or like a Burgundy or something. It's just insane. And it's like, but it's the same grapes. How is it how has it got this thing? So maybe there is something in this terroir, Or maybe it's just because I've seen the price and I've seen the bottle and I've seen the brown tinge around the edge.
Yeah.
You never know. I guess that's why all these blind tastings are good, because all these places outside New World places get a shot, get a bite of the apple.
Absolutely, yeah. Interesting, man. That's really cool. I think I did go. I think I've spoken about this actually on the podcast, maybe, but I did go through a little bit of a journey with red wine, like and I did the New World approach. So I went grapes.
Sweet.
Because I didn't research it enough to know about this maybe the old school approach to it. So I was going